Welcome to Cinemonika.
Never trust an HBO wedding. RIP, L to the OG. I think we can all objectively agree that this was the best episode of Succession yet, and possibly one of the best episodes of television in the last 10 years. We were all expecting Logan to die this season. I mean, not only is the show's name literally Succession, but in the first 2 episodes of this season, Logan has been contemplating life and death, legacy. He's been basically foreshadowing what was going to inevitably happen and did happen in just episode 3. The way that they portrayed Logan dying though was just masterful and deserves to be acknowledged as seriously genius writing, in my opinion. I mean, let's start with the fact that it was only episode 3, and on top of that, it was Connor's wedding. I never expected this to happen in this very moment. I mean, when Roman first got the call from Tom, I fully believed that it was a joke for like the first 10 minutes. Then I thought, oh, maybe this is like an elaborate plan from Logan to manipulate the kids in a new way, in a new, very up way. I mean, I wouldn't expect less from Logan, to be honest. Then I thought, oh, he can't really die this early in the season. I mean, there's still 7 episodes left. I'm sure he's gonna pull through. I'm sure the chest compressions are gonna work. So I don't know, I was very iffy at first. I was like, I don't know if I should believe that this is actually happening. This went on for just a little too long, and then I finally accepted it. Logan Roy is dead. The writers definitely accomplished that feeling of uncertainty and confusion that the siblings were all going through. And I found it absolutely incredible that they were able to make us, the audience, feel the exact same way the siblings were feeling. It was one of the most real deaths I've seen portrayed in a TV show from the point of view of the people receiving the news, the people that are the family members that receive the call. Emmys for everyone, the writers, the directors, the actors. If I had an award show, everyone would get a Monika. Okay, let's dive into the actual events of the episode, because to me, not only was the writing in the show incredibly well written, the actual performances from the actors was some of the best acting I've ever seen on a show. Let's start with Roman. Poor Roman started the episode by being basically the only sibling to be kind of getting on Logan's good side, but he had to show him one sign of loyalty first: to fire Jerry. One of the hardest things for Roman to do, and Logan knows this. Side note, we can be sad that Logan died and also recognize that he was a shitty, manipulative, and selfish father. Kieran Culkin's body acting is just phenomenal, in my opinion. It's like the best I've ever seen, to be completely honest. Not only in this Jerry scene, I mean, he couldn't even look at her. He seemed so incredibly uncomfortable, but also during the entire episode. So many times he makes himself so small, almost like a little kid. He pretends to be this very foul-mouthed, like, I don't even care kind of guy, but the truth is that he really does care. He really does care what Jerry thinks. He really cares about what his father thinks. He just never really learned how to show his emotions, how to show that he cares, because nobody ever really cared about him. When he tried to comfort Connor and he grabbed his arm, but then he kind of crumbled a little bit and his entire body kind of fell. Honestly, just great body acting. Speaking of Connor, this season I have really started to feel so bad for him. He's been the most honest character in my opinion, when a lot of the times he seemed to be the most delusional character as well. I mean, running for president. Yes, I know Connor Roy was interested in politics from a very young age. I wish I had his level of confidence sometimes. Connor is very different from his other siblings. I mean, for starters, he's the only one who has a different mom, and he had to witness her being taken to a psychiatric hospital when he was little. And as we learned in this episode, for some reason they fed him cake for an entire week after his mom got taken away to try to make him feel better. Oh God. I mean, no wonder why he was so upset about the loony cake. Just the term loony cake, just, I feel so bad for him. At first, his freak out about the cake, I thought it was just one of the common Connorisms that we've seen before. The butter is too cold! But it was truly heartbreaking to know that, you know, there was layers to his freak out over just a cake. In episode 2, Connor admits that he knows his family never really liked him. I mean, he says loved. He knows his family never actually loved him, and he has learned to live without this love. In this episode, when he finds out that Logan dies, his first reaction was admitting that he knew Logan didn't really like him and that he never really had a chance to make his father proud. I think this is why he's been trying to run for president. He's just trying to do something that his father can be proud of. The other kids in this moment, they're a little bit delusional. For example, Kendall saying, "No, we're not estranged. We just had a family function the other night." The family function in question being the super fun and wonderful karaoke night. A great family function right there. I mean, everyone had lots of fun. To be honest, I kind of wanted Kendall to sing at the karaoke. I mean, I wanted him to rap or something. Like Connor said in episode 2, he has learned how to live without love. He never felt love ever in his life. He accepts the reality that his father never really liked him much, that Willa doesn't actually like him much. He has learned to be kind of okay with the reality of things. I actually found him and Willa's moment very sweet because even though it's not entirely a love connection, it's not a marriage between two soulmates, it's more of a transaction and they both know it. They are both aware and they're pretty much content with the reality of things, the circumstances, the outcome of this union. This might be the healthiest relationship in succession, which is just crazy to say, to be honest. I like that despite everything, they did end up getting married, even though it was more of an intimate moment, not necessarily the big parade that Connor wanted it to be at first. I just like that Connor didn't let his father ruin his day. Could have died any other day, but he died the day of his wedding. I honestly felt so bad when Shiv told him that Logan was dying because she said that he was on a plane on his way to Sweden. And I know that must have been the hardest part for Connor to hear, that his dad wasn't ever planning to attend his wedding. And you know what? If Logan had actually put family first, instead of conducting business, he would have been at his son's wedding and he would have died surrounded by his children. But instead, he died in an airplane bathroom surrounded by people who work for him. I remember in season 1, the very first episode of Succession, it was Logan's birthday, right? He was kind of disappointed at Kendall for attending his birthday instead of attending business matters. This is Shakespearean. This is art. It's so smart and I'm just in awe of the writing of this show. Shivy. Sarah Snook is getting that Emmy. I've been saying it since the first episode of this season, and it just solidified it this episode. She literally made me cry over Succession, over Logan dying. Logan, one of the worst human beings, horrible father, incredibly misogynistic, and just a bad person. I was crying over Shiv losing her dad. The way that she became, daddy's little girl when she was talking to him on the phone. He probably couldn't even hear her. He was most likely gone, but her entire performance during that phone call, it really broke me. That's when I started crying. The fact that Kendall calls her Shivy honey, they all know that Shiv is probably his favorite. I mean, he has hit Roman multiple times. He ignored Connor for most of his life. Kendall, we all know how much he manipulates him. But Shiv, I feel like he really had a soft spot for her. I mean, he called her Pinky. She was the only one that actually told him to his ear on the phone. She was like, "Daddy, please don't go. I love you." I mean, I'm sure the others felt the same way, but Roman couldn't really articulate it. Kendall still was like, "I don't forgive you, but I love you." Shiv was the only one who really broke down, in my opinion, because she was always his favorite, and he was her favorite between her mom and her dad. I mean, she even says, "I was kind of hoping that it was mom," which is a crazy thing to say, but so real. Something I want to point out as well is Shiv's look in this episode. First of all, her hair was in a ponytail/bun with hairs coming out from the bottom. It looked like she literally didn't even give it a second thought. She just went like, whoop, that's it, I'm ready to attend her brother's wedding. This really makes me think that Shiv is just not okay mentally. I mean, this is the worst that her relationship with her father has ever been. This is the worst that her relationship with her husband has ever been. I mean, they're trying to get a divorce. She is really going through it, and you can see it in her look, which I think is so genius from the hair and makeup department. It could also show that she just doesn't really care for Connor and Willa. She knows that this is kind of a fake marriage. Why even put in an effort into looking good when you're going through it, you're not feeling it, and this isn't even a real wedding? The fact that she's also wearing all black to a wedding on a boat is kind of a bold choice, but I feel like it was more of a foreshadowing of obviously what was about to happen. It wasn't necessarily on purpose. Obviously, she didn't know he was gonna die, but it was definitely foreshadowing. I mean, she's ready for a funeral basically right now. I also believe that Roman was wearing black as well, but I noticed that Kendall was wearing kind of a darker blue instead of black, which is an interesting point because at the end of the episode, when Logan's body is being transported from the plane to the ground, right after all the siblings give each other a hug, a really heartfelt hug. I mean, that shot in the entire episode, it really broke me. Oh, by the way, that single 2-second shot of Colin, that's his best pal. How could a 2-second shot make me so sad? But anyways, going back to that hug, and then they kind of go their separate ways. Shiv goes away. Roman also goes towards the body. He wants to see Logan's body, but Kendall stays back in the shadows. And to me, that kind of represents that Kendall is about to be separated from the siblings. Maybe he's gonna betray them. That combined with Shiv and Roman wearing black and he's the only one wearing blue, these things singling out Kendall, I don't know, it just makes me think that perhaps he's gonna go in a different direction than the rest of them. Maybe he'll become like the next Logan and he'll become the killer his dad always wanted him to be, finally. I don't know, but it's something to look forward to in the next few episodes. I honestly don't know what's gonna happen, but it's just a theory. Kendall is the one that tries to keep it together for most of the episode as all of this is unfolding. He's the one that's thinking about the logistics of it all, how they're gonna be portrayed to the world, how their actions right now affect their next steps moving forward. And I mean, he's even thinking about the funeral arrangements. When he said we could do Reagan's with some tweaks, it might seem cold, but I think that is the only way he knows how to cope. After all, he is the oldest son of the three, of course. Can't forget Connor. So he feels a responsibility over the other two. He was the one who had to walk all over this boat looking for Shiv to tell her the news with snot on his nose, trying to keep it together so other people wouldn't really suspect anything. He's the one that has been constantly driven by what other people think of him, whether it's his father, the press, his Twitter fans. It wasn't really surprising that he acted the way he did during all of this, but it makes me wonder if repressing all of these emotions and trying to keep it together, if it's gonna make him explode in the next few episodes. By the way, I'm kind of hoping we get a slowed down version of L to the OG at the funeral, performed by Kendall, of course. Just saying. The fact that Kendall tried to do everything he knew how to do, like saying, get me the best doctor, let me talk to the pilot. All he knows how to do is try to solve things through his power, through his money. But not even money could save his father from dying. He was absolutely helpless in that moment. It's just so brilliant. Even though the scene on the plane was absolutely grim, I mean, I can't even imagine being just 12 feet away from Logan Roy, their boss, dying on the floor, flight attendants trying to do chest compressions on him while simultaneously talking to his children on the phone. Tom really held it together, and we know that he was internally freaking out, not only because of course Logan is dying, but also what it means for him moving forward. I mean, he has no one. He doesn't have Shiv by his side, and the only person who was pro Tom was Logan. So it's not looking great for Tom. And it's not looking great for Greg either, because, of course, wherever Tom goes, that's where Greg goes. You can't make a Tomalip without breaking some Gregs. I also really liked the other people on the plane. I mean, Carolina trying to focus on the statement and the people that they have to call, you know, being just very business-minded in that moment. Frank, of course, we saw that he was kind of struggling because he has known Logan for 40 years. We know that they had kind of a love-hate relationship. And then there's Carl. Just when he got up to get a drink, I was like, it had to be Carl. The whole scene with Carrie, I could totally feel that she was in shock, but I couldn't help but laugh at, you know, everyone kind of making fun of her. She's just easy to make fun of, you know? I feel like Carrie's just gone. It's just gonna be gone now. I mean, she was Logan's assistant. She was clearly an awful weather reporter or whatever. Obviously, there's no place for her anymore at this company. And maybe that's why she was kind of freaking out and in shock and laughing. You know, there's people that laugh when something horrible happens. I feel like that was Carrie in that moment. But what if she's pregnant? We don't know. We don't know yet. I also want to see Marsha's reaction. I mean, we know that she's shopping in Milan forever. This show is just fantastic. It's one of the best shows on television right now. And being able to see such an incredible episode, this is just episode 3 in season 4. I mean, I cannot wait to see the rest of the season. I personally feel like this season has surpassed every other season with just 3 episodes. I mean, all 3 episodes have been brilliant writing, incredibly funny scenes as well. I mean, just the ludicrously capacious bag. That whole quote by Tom has stayed in my head. What does she even have in there? Flat shoes for the subway? Her lunch pail? I'm so excited to keep watching Succession. Please let me know your thoughts on the current season and the show in general, where you think it's going, what you thought of this episode. And I mean, guys, Logan Roy is dead. I knew this was gonna happen, but I didn't think it was gonna be episode 3. Logan Roy died just like that. I still have so much adrenaline from watching it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.